The Utah Mammoth is sorta proud to present Nashcast.
What the is a Nashcast?
Nashcast, the only hockey show on the planet. Hosted by a human speed bag, fourth line wannabe, healthy scratch, schnozzy moto, Tyson Nash.
Who the hell is Tyson Nash?
Never heard of him.
And the baritone with a brain, the velvet hammer, Mr. Silky, Tono Suave, the radio voice of your Utah Mammoth,
Code Blue!
Mike Folta.
Oh, Captain, my Captain!
Nashcast begins now.
Ready for takeoff.
Here's Tyler Ganoush and Mickey Foghorn. Wait, what? Oh, here's Tyson Nash and Mike Folta.
Feeling good. Holy. No Folta. I am lost. My fearless leader, Mike Folta, is busy, unfortunately, in Vegas, holding the fort down. The Vegas Golden Knights, certainly the better of the two teams on night one, game one. But I think if anyone knows playoffs, you know when you're the visiting team going into enemy territory, you just need one game. You want to take one game out of Vegas. You want to bring it home to the Delta Center, which we know on Friday night is going to be game 3. We know the Delta Center is going to be rocking. Everyone around the National Hockey League is looking and waiting to see what develops at the Delta Center and how loud that building is going to be. Because we know it's one of the best buildings during the regular season. The playoffs is next level. And speaking of next level, how dead on were we with all our clips with Mike Folta, our demos, our demonstrations on the ice, the referees, the dirty plays, the stinky gloves in the face. How dead on were we about that with playoff hockey? There is such a difference between the regular season and playoffs, and we're seeing it right in front of our faces. It is so much fun to watch. There's nothing like playoff hockey. That's why you play so hard during the regular season, to get to the dance, to get to the playoffs when the games mean so much more, in fact. And I thought Utah played solid, but there's more. There's way more. I thought Logan Cooley was the best player on the ice for both teams. Complete reckless abandon. Fearless, taking that puck to the net. Some of the hits that he was involved with, some of the chirps that he had with Nick Dowd. Dowd basically threatening that he's going to kill the kid. But that's playoff hockey, right? And you gotta dig in. You gotta find that next level. You gotta win a game and pull one out of Vegas. So hopefully that continues. But man, the playoff hockey, every night there's 2 or 3 games. I can't wait. I think tonight, as we're taping this, the Edmonton Oilers are taking the ice right away. Can't wait to watch that game and what the Oilers bring. I think they're going to be a team that's probably going to go a long, long way for the 3rd straight season under Connor Ingram. So that'll be interesting to watch. Slavkovsky, what a game he had. For the Montreal Canadiens, he put up not 1, not 2, but 3 goals in that game. Hat trick. He's a young player. What a shot. What a performance in game 1 for the Montreal Canadiens, led by that young man. And Tampa is in one. Too many trips to the penalty box. John Cooper talked about that, one of the best coaches in the National Hockey League, how disappointed he was in his team's play the other night in their game 1 on home ice, which they lost. Montreal's for real. They're fast, they're quick, they're in your face, and they have a ton of firepower as well. So that's going to be a great series. How about the Pittsburgh-Philadelphia series as well? Rick Tocchet, they have been in playoff mode for the last month, just trying to get into the playoffs. And I think that really kind of shocked the Pittsburgh Penguins with all the experience that they have. They weren't ready for what the Philadelphia Flyers were bringing, right? It was all fire. It was in your face. It was chirping. They outskated them. They outhit them. They outplayed them from start to finish in that hockey game. So congratulations to Rick Tocchet, always finding a way to get the most out of that team and that lineup. The lineup is good, but I don't think it's anywhere near the Pittsburgh Penguins or some of the other teams out there. But man, they're playing playoff hockey right now in the biggest of ways. So let's see what else we got. We got lots of good stuff. Ryan Smith, the ownership group for the Utah Mammoth. How about them in Vegas on the concourse, on the I don't know what do you call it? Outside with all the music and the bands and the fans. And did Utah ever show up in a big way? I couldn't believe how many Utah jerseys there were in Vegas for game one. So love to see that. I know it's not a far trip down the highway. I think it's like 4 or 5 hours to get to Vegas for all those Utah Mammoth fans. And Vegas is an unreal building. It's Vegas, right? You got to put a show on, which they certainly do before the game, at intermissions. It is certainly a place that you have to go to if you're a hockey fan to watch a game at some point. So hopefully you're there tomorrow night as we tape this for game 2. And the Utah Mammoth, they're going to bring one home, I can promise you. But in order to do that, we need more from Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. They were a little bit too quiet for my liking in that game. We know they have more. We've seen it all year long, getting this team into the playoffs, into the dance. So I can't wait to see their performance and what they bring to the table. And they're going to need to. The Vegas Golden Knights, they have a ton of experience, pedigree, guys who have won before, and they showed it. They showed it in period 3 when they completely took over that game. So there will be some adjustments from Coach Andre Turney, systematically how they play, all the good stuff. But anyway, we have Chris Pronger. Chris Pronger's on the show. Speaking of playoffs, speaking of a guy who has won literally with every single team that he has went to. And I had him as my captain in St. Louis. This was a guy who was not afraid to say what needed to be said, right? In fact, he's written a book. We talked a lot about that on the podcast. It's called Earned. You can get it on Amazon, literally anywhere you buy your reading material. Earned will be there. It's going to be a hit. It's not a hard read by any means. It's a simple read, but man, is it to the point. It talks all about Chris Pronger's journey, which is my favorite part of this job, right? Is finding and learning about players, even at Chris Pronger's level, 6'6", 220 pounds. He was skilled, he was talented, but he still went through mass adversity. And he talks about the adversity that he went through, the injuries, the surgeries, the coaches, the booing. He was traded for Brendan Shanahan, and Brendan Shanahan was a god, literally a god. And when Chris Pronger got there and replaced Shanahan, every time this guy touched the puck, not on the road, but on home ice in front of his own fans, they would boo him. And not just once, they'd boo him the entire game long, the entire year long. It almost broke him. But he also credits that and those boos to making him and being the building blocks and the foundation for what was yet to come, which was a Hart Trophy, which was a Stanley Cup, which was the Hall of Fame, which was a Norris Trophy, Hart Trophy, you name it. Chris Pronger won it and did it. And it all comes with lots of adversity. Even when you're that talented, making that much more money, the pressure, all of it, right? And Chris Pronger, he rose to the occasion, and it's all in the book. He talks a lot about it. So I hope you guys really enjoy this podcast. Chris Pronger, one of my favorite teammates. He took me under his wing when I was a rookie with the St. Louis Blues. And boy, did we have a ton of fun doing it. But he wasn't afraid to give it to you. You had a bad game. You had a couple bad games in a row. It didn't matter if you were Al McInnes, if you were Keith Tkachuk, Doug Waite, Scott Mellenby. Guys have been around a long time. Chris Pronger was going to let you know that there's more, and you better bring more because we need it. So hope you guys enjoy it. Again, all our socials, Nashcast Official on Instagram, YouTube. We're even on TikTok right now, so we are buzzing. Thank you guys for following along. Tell your friends. Never gets old. We're trying to grow this baby, and we have some serious momentum. The playoffs are upon us. We got more great videos coming out of what the playoffs actually mean. So me and Foltz had a ton of fun with that. He only got banged up a little bit on the ice, but boy, did it ever feel good. So Chris Pronger, hope you guys enjoy it. All right, my former teammate, my former captain, the big man, the big bitch, we used to call him, Chris Pronger in the house. Gold medals in 2002, 2010. Went to the Cup Finals with the Edmonton Oilers, not the Mighty Ducks, slap me for that one, the Ducks and the Philadelphia Flyers. 2017, he was inducted in the top 100 to ever do it. 2015, how about the Hall of Fame? 6-time All-Star, Norris Trophy winner, Hart Trophy winner, my boy, Prongsy. What's up? And now an author.
Man.
Holy jeez,
Sending the
buddy.
vibe out with the pipes. I love it.
Pipe cleaners.
Garter snakes are in the house.
Hey, you're used to me walking around the locker room with no clothes. So
this is true.
This is an upgrade. This is a
step up for sure.
Yeah, lots of cold showers. Lots of cold showers, 2 prongs. So
yes.
Well, I like it, buddy. Well, thanks. I know you've been on the show last season, and I was so pissed off because I'm like, this guy has one of the best careers you're ever going to have. Like, I have you, dude, in like top 5 to ever do it. Just because I know I played with you. I witnessed you. I heard your verbal abuse. I had to practice against you. So I know. I know a few things. So I want you on my team. I would never want to play against you. But Prongs, you've done so much, buddy. So much in your career. You're now an author. You're writing books. You're like the new Tony Robbins. I mean, you are speaking all over the world. I can't keep track of you, but honestly, now, like, what are you most proud of? I mean, can you even put your finger on it? Have you had a chance to digest now that you've kind of went through and written this incredible book?
Yeah, I think just the evolution of, where it began, Dryden, Ontario, and, just kind of the career arc and coming out on the other side and having to, figure out 2.0, and now we're on 3.0, and broadcast partner with you.
Yes.
Amazon
they saved some
Prime
money.
Canada.
You made like 150, maybe, I don't even know, $200 million in your career. And now you're taking money out of my pocket because I only get to do the Amazon games when you don't want to do them or can't do them is a better question.
Yeah, you know what? I like the challenge of, I think when, and I talk about it in the book, 2.5 years ago when I quit drinking and got sober and had a little more clarity to what my purpose was and what I wanted to do with the rest of my life and what kind of legacy I wanted to leave for not only my kids and my family, but for those that, kind of know the name and know my career, what comes next? And, have a friend in St. Louis here that's a really well-regarded public speaker and performance coach. And it was just, I just went for dinner one night with him and we're talking. He's like, hey, why aren't you doing public speaking? And I'm like, well, I don't know. What are you talking about? He's like, look at your resume. Look at what you've seen, what you've been a part of. And, I'm like, well, look at this guy. He's one of the top 5 in all the world. And, pointing at this, guy over here. And he's like, that guy talks about what you did. And so when he put it in that perspective, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there's something here. And it's another challenge for me to, stand up in front of a crowd and actually have a framework to talk about and hopefully impart some wisdom on the people in the audience so that they have some take home and they're able to implement something new into their lives to level up and be difference makers. And as I began to build out the speeches, you're really kind of digging in and digging through different life experiences, different moments throughout your course of your career where there's an inflection point or where there's a lesson to be learned. And as I started to research all that, I could see a framework of a book and, sprinkle in some tidbits of, things that I did throughout my career that I haven't really talked about or spoke on.
What about TV? Like, I know TV's a different animal and I know it's not easy, and I think you can concur. Like now, like we always have so much to say, right? But then all of a sudden you're like, okay. And we say it in a locker room or in the shower, right? When the stories are flying. You never say it on live TV, and you obviously don't want to get in trouble. But how has that transition been for you, putting a filter on? Because I mean, I don't know if there was a more outspoken person that I've ever played with.
Yeah, I think you do have to kind of clean things up a little bit, tighten it up, move the parameters in just a touch. And, you still want to be yourself. You still want to, speak your mind. But, I think you have to make sure that it resonates with the audience and resonates with, what they're looking at. It's got to make sense to them. And I try to boil things down very simply because we can get caught up in the nuance of the game and the position and all these different things. And, just try to hopefully teach them something in the way that I see the game. And allow them to hopefully get a little bit smarter on the game of hockey and who they're watching and what these players go through on a day-to-day basis, the grind, and why somebody's developing and getting better and what they're doing maybe differently than somebody else and all the rest of that. So I enjoy it.
So is this I know you're in management. You were Florida originally. Like you've literally touched a few different areas since you retired. Which I was a little bit surprised because of just how much money you made, but you want to have an impact. You want to be involved in the game, whether it's TV or management. But what do you liken most, and where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think throughout my career, from the early days to then figuring out, I had to, you learn how to work hard. You learn a work ethic, and you learn how it feels when you accomplish something and accomplish a goal. And that's no different when you're retired. You still want to have purpose. You want to, really dig into something and have a little bit of structure and semblance to your life and what you're doing. And so, as I added the speaking to my resume, and then I started to look into broadcasting, and it not only keeps you in the game, but it allows you to really hone your craft and learn how to speak. And you got somebody talking in here, you got 15 seconds. You got about a minute worth of information. You got to boil down into 15 seconds.
You got to talk those voices in your head off the ledge. You're like, stop talking.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have to really be succinct and put it all together. And that's a fun part too, because it helps me in my speaking. It kind of goes hand in hand, and then the book kind of completes the flywheel. So that's been a lot of fun too. And in learning that craft and how to really do it seamlessly.
Has there been someone that helps you? I mean, I know we've had Dave Scatchard on the show, a few times. He co-hosted with me as well. And he spent, I think, an entire year with Tony Robbins, like traveling around. I think it cost him like $1 million to follow this guy around and learn everything about what he's doing. They were in Africa together and some like in the middle of the jungle. Like it was crazy. But for you, is there someone kind of helping you, mentoring you? Because speaking is a totally different animal. Like I can talk a starving dog off a meat wagon. You know that at dinners and in the locker room. Yeah. But like when you get up, and on TV too, but when you get up in front of a room, I give you a ton of credit because that is a whole other animal. Like the nerves, right? Looking around and seeing faces, very different than just being in front of a camera. Yeah,
it's a challenge. And I think that was the scary part and the challenge to get in front of people. You got, 50 people, 500 people, 1,000 people staring back at you. And you don't know if if what you're saying is resonating with them. You don't know
if they're not laughing at your jokes.
They're on their phones or doing whatever. Yeah. And, I think it's the after part, when you're done speaking and you're talking to them afterwards and you hear their story and you hear what's going on in their lives and the takeaway they got from your talk and what they're going to implement in their day-to-day lives and things like that. That's where it's like it makes it all worthwhile. And you see the impact that it has on them and on the room. And that, that's where, it really hits home that you're doing something that's, worthwhile and is serving a valuable purpose.
So we're going to get into all that and your book. I got so many questions, so little time, but I want to get back to the hockey. We got the playoffs that are right around the corner. Everyone's playing their last game tonight and tomorrow. So it's getting exciting. But as you, Prongs, one of the best players to ever play our game, you're suspended. I also didn't say that. Suspended 8 different times. That might be that's the one I love the most, right? Forget the 6-time All-Star, the Norris and the Hart Trophy. 8 times suspended. But I got to ask you, Utah may play Edmonton and you're talking about McDavid. I've heard everyone try to talk and explain McDavid and Draisaitl and how to defend against them. And but how would Chris Pronger, one of the best defenders to ever play a game, handle McDavid?
It's not necessarily one-on-one. It does and will take a total team effort. First and foremost, depending upon what side he comes up, if he's coming up the right side, the left defenseman, they've got to be gapped up. It's hard because he's coming fast. So you got to trust that you got help, but you need to gap up. And Florida did it beautifully in the finals last year, where they were gapping up, denying the red line. I mean, it was hard for Edmonton to dump the puck. They had their gaps so tight. And so in doing so, it really takes a lot of time and space away. And then it's in layers. If you're get a piece, he might chip it by you. Just get a piece, slow him up just a little. Then you've got the next layer coming in to either attack him or attack the puck. And then you've got another layer. And it's just, you've got to understand and know when he's on the ice, because he's such a weapon and he's so dangerous. And in the blink of an eye, he's by you, and it's one-on-one with the goalie. And it just happens so fast. There's a reason he's the best player in the world because of that and how he plays the game at such a high level. And he does everything at top speed, which is, I don't think people realize how hard it is to stick handle and skate at the same time. Most people skate and then they stick handle, skate, stick handle. Yeah. All at the same time. Right. He's doing all these things.
I can't chew gum and walk at the same time, Prom. So, yeah, you're right.
It sounds, when you think about it, it sounds very, as a hockey player, isn't that what they do? But when you look at some players,
you get on the skating treadmill. Yeah. Have you ever done on this? Like, you probably haven't, but I did it.
No, I've been.
And it's true. Like, you skate, all of a sudden they throw a puck to you and your feet stop moving. You're flying off the back of the treadmill.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
You're right.
Even at our level, like, that's the thing. Sergei Fedorov could do it. McDavid can do it. There's a few guys in the league that McKinnon can do it. There's very, very few guys. Sid does it, but there's not a lot of guys that can, push the pace and stick handle and have their head up and be aware of everything going on around them. It's definitely a gift.
Will Edmonton ever win a cup? I mean, with what they have going on, and what are their biggest issues? They've been in the finals twice. I know you can't really give it to them too much, but how do they not have a goalie? Like, how have they not had a goalie? Like, talk to me.
I think they took some swings. They haven't worked out. They had Koskinen years ago. They had Jack Campbell. They tried to sign from Toronto. They've had guys that they've gone out and get. And then, Skinner takes them to 2 finals. But he needed some help. He had Pickard there, when he had troubles. Also,
now they got Ingram. Now they have Connor Ingram.
But it's also how they play in front of him too. Like, it's one thing, we can sit here and blame the goalie, and yes, they have not been very good. But if you know that, then maybe you should tighten things up. Mm-hmm. Because if that's your weak link or your weakest part of your team, maybe you should tighten things up and play a little more structured in the defensive zone, so that you don't give up too many grade A chances, to those guys that you feel like they're, not the best asset to have in that. And, we'll see. It's, they're going to take another run at it. Mm-hmm. Again, if they get hot, it's all about those star guys. If Draisaitl can come back and he's healthy or healthy enough, and, the layoff has helped him, not hurt him, then, they're going to be dangerous because they got such, out there from an offensive standpoint, they can just put them on quick. And, for me, it's going to be more about how they defend.
Do you think they lack that depth too? Like the Corey Perrys, who left, and a Kane type of player. And because I think if Utah plays them, no, we don't have a McDavid or a Draisaitl, but we do have some pretty high end talent, and we move. They play a real fast game, but we also, I think, have an advantage in goal, first of all. And then I think just our foot soldiers, which, as you know, I mean, you've won cups. You know what it takes and how important those guys become. I mean, you look at Detroit, all the years we faced that frickin' Detroit Red Wings team, right? Yep. And you got Holmstrom, you got McCarty, you got Draper, you got Maltby. I mean, it's not always about Fedorov and Yzerman, right? So
no, absolutely. your third and fourth lines need to provide offense, and they need to beat the other team's third and fourth line. If they can be net positive, then you've got a really good chance, because typically the top two lines are going to cancel each other out. The bottom two lines are where, the money's made. And, that depth is going to be critical for them to be successful, I think.
Mm-hmm. So, McDavid, can you knew my gift. I mean, my talent was chirping and yapping and getting the other team and getting you on the stinking power play. You
getting
were
your
out,
nose
right?
dirty.
Yeah, we're getting that in there. Wasn't hard to do. I could do that from the press box. But can you give it to a McDavid? Can you rattle him? Can you, like, the slashes on the legs? Is he a guy that you just let sleep a little bit, or do you get in his grill?
I think it depends on the type of player you are. You don't want to step outside your comfort zone too, where it becomes just your sole focus of, I want to get under his skin. It has to be within the framework of how your team plays, your identity, all the rest of that. You have to, if you're not a team, like if Utah, let's just use that as an example. If they're not a team that's tripping guys and don't do it. Like, don't step outside your comfort zone and your skill set, like, just because it's him and it's the playoffs. Play to your identity. This new experience for them being in the playoffs is going to be great for a lot of those young guys, for the franchise. They're going to get a taste to really see how amped up this next level is with the playoffs. It's, you got, ho-hum preseason, then you've got the first half of the season, then you've got, the playoff stretch drive, and now you've got the playoffs, and as you go, it gets even more and more, but you're going to be coming shot out of a cannon, the first game with the adrenaline pounding and the excitement of being in the playoffs and all the rest of that. They're going to want to try to keep it a little in check.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. All right, let's get into this book, dude. Like, you sent it to me last night. I was at dinner and I got home. Yeah, that one. Like, dude. Like, first of all, I struggle to read. I can't write. I can't print, and my grammar is horrendous. So I don't know. Did you write that thing yourself? Yeah. At least I got good hair, right? But how did you think about writing a book? What made you? What was the process like? Because I think, like all of us, we've all kind of thought about it. It's just you kind of like, maybe my story is not that great, but I mean, your book, dude. I couldn't put it down. I literally couldn't put it down. I was skimming, I was scrolling, and I was trying to digest it and take it all in. But it is fascinating.
Yeah, thank you. It, you know what? A lot of it came from researching my speeches and trying to dig into critical moments and pivotal moments in my career where, I was at a fork in the road. Where do I play in high school or AAA? Where do I play junior college? Where do I play? And all these things and what type of messaging can you have for people where they can learn something of value? No, I'm not perfect. I've made a ton of mistakes, and I think when you're open like that and vulnerable in the sense that not perfect, but I'm trying to learn from them and betting on myself and then holding myself accountable, taking ownership of, decisions, and moving forward and utilizing maybe the mistakes as a vehicle for growth. And, in the book, I talk about adversity as a gift. You have to lean into it. In order for us to grow as humans first, athletes, players, what have you, you have to have adversity. You got to have challenge to really lean into so that you can grow. Otherwise, what are we doing? You're just kind of floating through and you're never getting to that next level and evolving.
It's hockey, right? And my favorite part, Prongs, of doing these podcasts and doing these TV shows is the fact that everyone has a journey, right? And I think people take yours for granted because you were the elite of the elite, right? And they're like, what did he deal with in his life? He's a natural, right? Like all the crap
it was easy.
That people,
it was easy.
It was easy for him. Blah. But when you go through your book and I had goosebumps, dude. I'm like, I forgot about that. Oh my God, he was hurt again there. He battled back. Then he got hurt again. His ankle, his wrist. Like you're the puck in the chest in Detroit in the playoffs. Dude, I think the one statement you had in there that stood out, and to your point that you just talked about, you said the booze that almost broke me became the foundation for everything. Dude, like I'm literally losing my mind over that because we're dealing with some stuff right now, and you always do as a hockey player. Adversity does not discriminate; it hits everybody.
Everybody, and that's, sometimes it's self-inflicted through decisions we make, and sometimes it's out of our control, and it's things just happen, and how we respond to those, how we counteract that, how we live with it, and then how do we take ownership and hopefully learn from and make better decisions the next time. But, that's the beauty of it all, is going through these experiences, the character, the grit that's built, the resilience that you're going to need later on with each one of these, whether it's adversities or, issues, problems, choices, whatever, comes growth and development and an understanding of later on I can utilize that resilience or grit that I needed in that situation, or learned and added or utilize it much later on in different parts of my life.
So is that to you like what your biggest takeaway from all your speaking engagements, the book itself, that people are really being fascinated by? Like Chris Pronger, he went through this, and this, and look at, where he ended up. And I can do the same thing. Is that what resonates?
Well, I try to, it's about taking ownership. It's about accountability. And then it's just about, how do I get success? Like, how do I work towards success? And how hard self-assessing is a problem. People think they're doing enough work, and they're not. And so at every step, it's challenging the reader. Oh, are you doing enough? Like, show me, tell me, what are you doing? Write it down. And at each step, then ask the question, well, is somebody else doing more than you? Is somebody else more dedicated? Is somebody else sacrificing more? It's no different than, Michael Phelps, and I've said this a number of times now, for 12 years, in one of his speeches, he's like, for 12 years straight, 365 days a year, he was in the pool, which is insane to think. I took plenty of days off to recover and all the rest of that. 365 days a year for 12 years. It's insane to think, but and also he doesn't have a picture of another athlete, a swimmer. He doesn't have a time. He has his time. He is racing against his time. I want to get better every day. I'm chasing that, my own score. I just want to see improvement. And that's where, I think sometimes we get lost in all this, where we're trying to, as you said, we're on our own unique journey. Yes, it's okay to have goals and dreams of trying to have somebody's career, or, something like whoever. But it's your journey. You have to take ownership and accountability for everything, and then go out and take action, execute on it, and make sure you're leaving it all out there. You don't want to have any regrets at the end.
Is that something he taught you? Like you heard him say that? Or because that's brilliant, because we all are like, oh, I want to play like Wayne Gretzky. I want to play like, what I mean? Like, I'm sure it was the same for you for a long time. You had a mentor maybe, but ultimately it is just about you getting better every single day. Right. And then 5 years down the road, where are you? Like you hope you're a lot farther.
And by the way, you said it right there, 5 years down the road. There are no shortcuts. It might take that long to find that level that you're trying to get to. But each and every day, your actions matter. How invested are you? How dedicated are you? Again, what are you willing to sacrifice? And every single day as you go through and try to improve to get to this goal, it's a process. And, we hear the cliche, trust the process, but it's true. You have to. Yeah.
You don't know what that sometimes means, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
As simple as that is. So, Prongs, how did you know what to put in the book and what not to put in the book? Like, there's a million stories. We just can't go down that road, but it had to have been really tough for you.
Yeah. And detail too. So I didn't want the book to be, detail ridden and then it just like, let's cut to the chase. What was the issue? Where's the problem? What was the success? What was the mistake? What was, how did I bet on myself here? How did I challenge myself here? And through story and through, experiences, walk the reader through that journey and, hope it resonates with them. I've had plenty of failures and plenty of successes. And, you hope somebody reads that and go, oh, well, it wasn't easy. Oh, he really worked at it. Oh my God, I didn't realize. I forgot he got booed for 3 straight years on home ice.
And how
Like
hard
3,
that was.
right? Not one time, not like one game, like 3 years straight. Virtually the whole year. I think the first 20 games, maybe Hartford gave me a break. But
is that because the trade itself, because of the Shanahan left?
Well, I think originally, so in Hartford when I was being booed, I think it was expectations of what they thought I was going to provide. I mean, I was a defenseman, two-way defenseman. I wasn't Brian Leach, and I wasn't Bobby Orr, and I wasn't Mary Lemieux.
And you were like 19.
And I was 19, and and I was playing defense, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to find myself, personally, let alone on the ice, trying to figure out who I am, what I'm all about, all the rest of it. And then, you're getting booed every game, and you're just like, holy shit, this is a struggle. And, it's hard. And now you get down. You don't then the pressure, mounts, and the expectations, and, that vicious word, potential. Oh, he's not living up to his potential, and all right. Now you're hearing all that, and now you're hearing people poke and prod, and, all the rest of that. And then I get traded. I'm like, oh my God, what a great trade. This is going to be awesome. I didn't realize that Brendan Shanahan was the new superstar in town. I didn't realize that he was kind of supplanting Hully as the face of the franchise. And so, I came in and, wasn't in great shape. And,
bag of milk.
to say the least. And, immediately, Mike Keenan let me know about it, and he let everybody else know about it. And so, from fan favorite to this kid who doesn't understand what the expectations are, doesn't understand how he needs to prepare, how he needs to, become the player they want him to be and think he can be. And so the first 50, 60 games, I get booed on home ice. And then we picked up Gretz. I went and saw Sport Psych, and I was already I was in better shape. So I was starting to figure out how I needed to play. I stopped listening to the boos and blocked a lot of the noise out. And, was already had implemented some changes and set standards for myself and started living them every day and all the rest of that. And then we got Gretz, and that really diverted the attention of everybody to him, for a reason.
They started booing him instead of you.
So
like, suck it, 99.
So then, I got a chance to watch how he prepared, got a chance to see how he handled all the notoriety and the scrutiny and the media and the fans and all the rest of that. And that was incredibly valuable. And, then my game really started to trend up because eyes were on him, not me. And then, things really kind of turned a corner. That playoffs, I played really well. And then I started to, invest in training and invest in, myself.
I want to get to the standards and adversity chapter of the book, because I think that's great. But it's easier. You're just saying it, but how did you physically get out of it? Was it just that simple that 99 kind of took the pressure off of you?
Well, it was already trending. I was playing a little better, and I think Mike backed off a little bit with the media and the fan base, because he's the one that made the trade. Doesn't make him look very good. So he kind of backed. I think he made his point. He beat me down, and then he was in the process of building me back up. And so I was trending a little better, and I think fans could see I was playing a little bit better. And so then when we made the trade, they were already kind of like, oh, maybe this kid's okay. They weren't all in on Team Pronger, but they weren't, suffocating me and on top of me and booing me relentlessly. There was a smattering of boos at that point.
What do you tell kids, Prongs? You did the work, though, to a certain degree. Your play spoke for itself. But what do you tell kids that are going through the same thing, or getting just squished by their coach and the fans, and they got no confidence? How do you get that back? How do you find yourself again in those moments?
It's hard. It's hard. You're going to hear, you got to block out the noise. That's pretty hard when you got 15, 20,000 people booing you. On home ice, that you're like, oh, please, give me more. This is really going to help me play better.
Not your own backyard.
No, it is incredibly difficult. I think you have to have a good, especially in today's day and age with social media and internet and all the rest of it. You have to have a good support system. You got to have good people around you. You got to have people that are invested in you, and you got to block out the noise. Like, you shouldn't be on social media. You shouldn't deal with any of this stuff. And, because everybody's a keyboard tough guy. And, it just, everybody's a keyboard warrior.
Oh, God, don't get me
And so
started.
if you can block out all that noise and just focus on today, getting better today. And, we're looking forward for a reason. Our feet are pointing forward for a reason. We don't have rear view mirrors where we can look at, all this stuff. Be focused on where you are in the present. Learn from your mistakes, in the book, like learn from your mistakes. You can think back on how mistakes happened and then hopefully learn from it, get rid of it and move forward. And hopefully that part of it, people can see that you're putting in the work, you're, in the gym, you're in practice working on your craft, you're invested. They want to see that you're invested. You're not listen, nobody plays 82 perfect games. They just want to see that you're invested and you care.
Mm-hmm. Now, does that where the standards that you talk about in your book, the adversity, but you also had to set standards that really ultimately on the day-to-day, whether it was on the ice or your personal life, the standards kind of took you to another level?
Yeah, how you show up. I think for me, once I go to the sports psych and he asks me, what are your standards? I'm like, I don't got standards. I just know how to play hockey. I just love going to the rink and I love, practicing and playing. And he's like, okay, but when you feel bad, how do you play? I go, not good. When you feel good, how do you play? I feel like I think I play pretty good. So he's like, oh, you're very emotion driven then. When you feel good, you play good. When you feel bad, you play bad. And I'm like, well, okay. So he started talking to me about standards. He started talking to me about what non-negotiables look like and how to set them up in a way that are simple, easy to follow. They don't have to be super unique. My three were, I needed to be the hardest worker in the room. Talent alone is not enough. If you're the hardest worker in the room, bar none, you're going to be prepared. You're going to be ready. You're going to perform at a high level. Then I needed to fuel myself and from a health and fitness perspective, fuel myself accordingly. If I want to be the hardest worker in the room, I got to fuel myself. And then ultimately the biggest thing was mindset. I had a victimhood mentality. I'm blaming the fans. I'm blaming Keenan. I'm blaming my teammates. I'm blaming everybody else but myself. And so once I took ownership of my play and my life and became accountable to that alone and strengthened my mindset in that regard and just own it, then things really kind of took shape and I was able to turn the corner a little bit. And again, working harder, working at my craft, kind of digging in and really not caring about what the booze looked like and, the hecklers and whatnot. That was for later on the road.
I love it. You're starting to motivate me, brother. Holy geez. This was like, this should have been a speech before playoffs against San Jose when we won the President's Trophy and we lose in the first round. I don't know about you, buddy, but like that was the best team, literally the best team to never win. Like we were so stinking good.
Yeah, we were stacked. And to think we didn't even get out of the first round, that's one of the reasons why I was so bitter. That's the year that I won the Hart and Norris, and I was so bitter. They're parading, jerseys parading around with a cup, and I'm just like, this is bullshit. Just thinking,
you had 10 cups from the award ceremony, but you wanted the other one.
I wanted the big one.
You wanted the big one.
You're just sitting there. You're like.
They all do, Prongs. They all want the big one.
Yes, the Stanley Cup. Yes, they do.
Yeah. Hey, tell me again, like, I know for my career, and it kind of sucked, and when I talk to kids, because, like, they know us now more as, like, broadcasters. We're more, like, aware to our fan base because we're on TV and stuff. And people always ask me about, making it and this and that. And I'm always like, my whole career, I was so fear-based. Like, it was an awful way to have to play hockey every day. Like, fear of, yes, the guys that wanted to kick the snot out of me and like that. But I just mean fear of, losing my spot and not being good enough and the guy behind me. And like, it's just an awful way to play. Like, what do you say to kids?
Pit in your stomach. Pit in your stomach every day. Yeah.
It was
Am
terrible.
I getting sent down? Am I getting traded?
Yes, but it was a motivator, right?
Yes.
And like every coach, it's like I wanted to hate every coach because I did play the victim like you. I self-sabotaged and I was always had, I hate this freaking coach. I'm going to stick it up his ass. He's not playing me enough. But it's just an awful way to play and have, relationships with management.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hard part. And I get asked by kids all the time, well, how do I get noticed? I'm like, you need to play the game. You got to look like you love playing the game. You should be passionate about the game. Showcase. And how do you showcase your skills? Compete. Just be dogged on pucks, hunt pucks. If you're the best player on the team, you should be the hardest worker on the team. And you should be always around. Because if you're that good, the puck should follow you around, or it should look like the puck is following you around because you're that good. And if you're not, and you're like, oh, how do I get noticed? I think I can play at the next level. I'm like, you have to be engaged where the puck is, because that's where the scouts are looking. That's where people are looking. They want to know, how does he work? What kind of teammate is he? All the little things that I think gets glossed over. Everybody knows who Macklin Celebrini is. Yeah. But who are the line mates and who's the defenseman getting him the puck in Bantam, Pee-wee, all the rest of it. And so how do you differentiate yourself, and how do you get noticed? It's by playing the game the right way, not trying to stand out because you're going to make mistakes. Play the game the right way, the way you know how. We all play in our own unique way. And so if you want to get noticed per se, you do that.
I hate that the media gets the vote on the Norris Trophy. I'm like, what the hell does the media know about going up against Chris Pronger or Al McInnes or whoever it is, right? I'm like, how do they know? They don't know. So for me, Prongs, I got a couple more questions for you before I let you go. Like, you played against the best. Every time you stepped on the ice, you were matched up against the best players on the other team. People don't understand how difficult that is. Everyone's like, what was it like to play against Steve Yzerman? I'm like, well, I never really was out there against him. Yeah, when he went on, I got yanked off.
Sure, get off.
But you, every time they stepped on the ice, you did. So who was the toughest player that you had to face, night in and night out, skill-wise and maybe physically?
Yeah, I don't, it's hard to differentiate between a lot of the guys because, as you said, every single night I'm going against the top guys. And if you look at our division, playing against Fedorov, Russian 5, and Yzerman, playing against Modano and Neuendijk in Dallas, playing against Sakic and Forsberg in Colorado. I mean, you just look at our division. It was a murderer's row back then. And so, I wouldn't say one stood out more than the other. I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed the matchup. Sometimes you win them and sometimes you lose. But it's that the competitive drive you have and the ability to really lean into it, when we talk about in the book, to challenge yourself, like, how do you match up today? Like, maybe you don't have it. Maybe you don't feel great, but how do you match up today? Like, nobody cares that you don't feel good. You still got to play this guy every single second of the game. And, sometimes you got to play multiple people. You're matching up with a couple different lines. So it can be hard, but that's the beauty of it. You love hard. If it was easy, you could play defense.
Yeah. But you loved it. Like, you loved it. I
love the matchups.
Right?
I love the matchups. I love
the whiteboard, the coach highlighting and, circling whoever it is that night. You're like, let me
That's
out.
my guy. That's my guy. He's in for a nightmare tonight.
I feel bad for his calves.
I'll be getting my pound of flesh.
Yeah. And his wrists, which you were famous for, by the way. You were such a dick, but you always made us like way better in practice. I remember flying around you one time, and I think the night before you were like, are you kidding me, you donkey? I played 33 minutes last night. Do you think I want to be even out here practicing? Yeah. You go wide against me again, you're getting it. And I got it. I got it.
Right? Sure. Yeah. You won't do it. Oh, yeah, I will.
Oh, yeah, I will. Oh, yeah. How about the best player that you ever played with? Besides me, of course.
Aside from you, I got to play with, the best of the best. I got to play with Gretz. I got to play with Mario. I think at the time, I got to play with Gretz later, I think I got to play with him in the 80s when he was at his peak. But, Mario was on another level. Just size. He did not look like he was going that fast out there. So my first time playing against him, like, he didn't look that fast. So I'm like, I can handle this guy, no problem. All of a sudden, he's right on top of you. Like, holy crap, this guy's pretty quick. And then he's so big that he just baits you in. Like, okay, come hit me. And then, boom, he just flicks it by you, driving winger, 2-on-1. I'm like, oh. I did that. I was dash 5 one night here in St. Louis when we played Pittsburgh. And Keenan was losing his marbles as I was tucking on the green jacket.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, no, he was a nightmare to play against, and just he could, you see, when you play with guys and they can just find that little crack, little seam in between the goalie and the post. He could score from the worst angles. Just, I don't know. Some guys have that gift. Tamu too.
Oh. Scott Niedermayer, I played with him. I kind of like you went from out. Like, I'd love to be a defensive coach for you. And by the way, I had a nugget. I think every team that traded you away never made the playoffs the next year. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's a testament, isn't it?
They must
you go
have
to the
been
Edmonton Oilers.
They were in rebuild.
You go to the Oilers, who are like not even close to anywhere near it, and literally they bring you in, and you guys go to the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, against Carolina. I mean, I was so pumped because Edmonton's always kind of my team, right? But
as it should be.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm always boy.
Wayne Gretzky wallpaper, bed sheets back when I was a kid growing up. I mean, and then Gretz ends my career.
Yeah, forces you into retirement.
That's right.
Just saying.
Not bad though. Not bad.
Yeah.
It's nice when you meet your heroes and they're even better people, right?
Yeah.
And that's Gretz, like, for sure. I gotta ask you about your bro, who I just love. I think we were invested in a company way back when, old Bennigan's.
Yes.
I think he was a part of it. Another beauty decision by me financially.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's buy a restaurant and a bar. I mean, every hockey player has.
Why wouldn't
you? Yeah. Why not? Let's just give money away. We win the lottery every 2 weeks, and we're just what else can we spend our money on, right?
Yeah.
But talk to me about your bro, your relationship. He's your older brother. And just the bond that you guys had. And obviously the battles. You're seeing it every year, it seems like. The Kachuk brothers. And we saw those guys in our locker room beating the hell out of my shins, hitting me in the coconuts with the sock that they had taped up. Oh, yeah. And one of them always going out crying, balding. Yeah. It was usually Brady. So,
yeah. No, it was, I think that is a big reason for a lot of my success in the fact that, A, he was a good player, and B, 2 years younger, I had to play up, with all of him and his friends, and, road hockey, we're fighting, we're doing all this stuff, at the outdoor rink, couple blocks away.
He was tough too.
Yeah. Yeah. So outdoor rink, playing against kids that are 5, 6, 7 years older. And even, on the teams that I played with, I moved up a couple years and just, constantly pushing myself against him. And then we play by ourselves in our basement, throw a ball in the corner, like, who's going to come out? Yeah, I wonder. Jeez, I wonder who's going to come out. And so I think, a lot of that hardened me up for the, what was to come, and allowed me to, really understand, I was tall, but I wasn't very big. And so learning leverage, as I went from playing against him in the basement or outside to then playing high school hockey, I was always playing against kids that were 4 and 5 years older.
Jeez, you were a beast. Everyone thought you were the milkman's kid because you're 18 feet taller than the rest of your family. But I got to ask you about this Edmonton Oiler story. It's in the book. Yeah. I haven't got to it yet, but it is unbelievable. Did that really happen? I mean, this contract with the Oilers, walk me through it. That is unbelievable. And how mad was Lauren?
Yeah, she was mad. I knew I was getting traded at some point, but we're at a friend's 30th birthday party. I knew the Blues were shopping me coming out of the lockout, and we were at a friend's 30th birthday party up at St. Louis Country Club, where I'm sure you've been a couple times. Been a guest a couple times.
No, never invited.
and had quite a few adult beverages, a few shots, a few glasses of wine, a few whatever. I mean, it's the 30th birthday, you can only imagine. And I got a phone call from my agent at about, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And he's like, hey, I need to talk to you. I'm like, no phones are allowed in this place. So I walk over into a room, grab Lauren, go in a room. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, hey, you just got traded. I'm like, oh, okay, timing, great. And he's like, yeah, you're going to Edmonton. I'm like, okay, well, I got my qualifying offer, and then we'll figure it out. Maybe we stay, maybe we go, who knows? So we leave. She's like, hey, let's go to Barnes & Noble and get a book or two on Edmonton. And I don't know anything about Edmonton. I'm not from the area. I've been there to play hockey. That's it.
There's no internet.
There's no internet. Yeah. There's no internet. So we're like, all right, let's get a couple books on it. And we go there, and this lady, I'm like, I should have known better. I'm like, is there any books on Edmonton? We're in friggin' Missouri. What do they know? She's like, oh, why are you going there? I'm like, oh God, here we go. Thank you.
They live in igloos up there.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I'm like, no, they don't, but thank you. I don't know if you've seen my hometown. So that happens, and I'm like, okay, Lauren's never been to Edmonton. I'm like, well, that's not a great first impression, first and foremost, from what somebody else has to say who knows nothing about Edmonton. And then we get home, we're talking, we're like, okay, so what does this look like? I've got a qualifying offer. I'm like, okay, let's sign the qualifying offer. We'll go for a year. We'll reevaluate after the season, see how it goes. And, get home. She goes to bed. I go into my office, kind of letting all this marinate a little bit, and I'm having a few more beers. And then my agent calls me. He's like, hey, they want to talk contract. I'm like, okay, I know. I'm going to sign my qualifying offer. He's like, yeah, no, they want to give you an extension. And I don't know. I just, caught me at a weak moment where I was not thinking, the first and foremost. Secondly, she went to bed. I should have, if there's one thing that I've learned throughout my life, and not that this was a crisis per se, but in moments like this where a big decision needs to be made, I always need to sleep on it. Anytime, regardless of this one, another one, drinks, no drinks, whatever. Anytime I need to make this decision right this second without having any evaluation, I typically choose wrong. And so
join the club.
Yeah. And so, this one's no different. I agreed to a contract. I didn't sign the contract, but I agreed to it. And I don't think I had a fax machine or whatever, but anyways, agreed to it. And, that's kind of the story. And I had to tell her in the morning, like, hey, by the way, I got to tell you something. I agreed to a 5-year deal. And she was like, what? I thought we were going for 1 year. We're going to evaluate, just everything just spiraled from there. And so, going up there, I love, you were up there. Listen, I love playing there. It was awesome. Yeah. We had a great team. Mm-hmm. With great guys. The training staff was awesome. Coaching staff, I played with 3 of them. Charlie Huddy was my D partner my first year here.
Who was the other one? Was Bucky there?
No, Bucky was in the staff, and then Craig McTavish was the head coach.
Oh, right.
I played with him in St. Louis. Yeah.
Cheerhead.
It was awesome. Just having that perspective and ability to, know those guys from a former teammate perspective and know what they're all about. It was a lot of fun. We had a blast. Like just the group we had there came together, and we had a lot of really good young guy. Hemmer was coming into his own, and Hork kind of took over the 1C spot. We acquired Pekka that off season right after me, so there was a lot going on. So my bad, sorry, but I enjoyed my time. Everybody's making a big thing out of this because of this excerpt, and I'm like, read the book.
Read the whole book.
Read the whole book. What am I saying throughout the course of the whole book? It's this. It's the challenges we face, the decisions we make, and the repercussions and consequences they have. Yeah. This was a mistake. I made a mistake. Whip these shit. We all make them. So Live
And
and learn.
then you went to Anaheim when? Like shortly after, right? After that year?
Yeah. It's like, I think we lost on that Monday. The draft was the following weekend, and then I think I got traded maybe a week after that or a week and a half after that.
And then you won.
Yeah.
The very next
Well,
year,
we
right?
beat them. We beat them in the conference finals.
Oh,
So I knew they had a good team.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I knew they had a good team. I knew they had
Right.
the makings of, a cup contender. I mean, you never,
Yeah.
you can say they're a cup contender. You don't know they're going to win.
Right.
A lot needs to happen. A lot needs to go your way. But, to lose, there's a few games that stick in my craw. That Game 7 in Carolina, it eats at you. Like the opportunity you have to, you don't get very many of those.
Yeah. I remember all my buddies flew down for that one. Tickets were like ridiculous. The building rocked. Oh yeah.
Oh,
and all your family and friends, they're all there.
Both
they
buildings.
think they're free. They think
Yeah.
they're free.
Oh yeah. Both buildings were rocking. Carolina's building was loud, but Rexall Place was off the charts.
Oh yeah, that was the old one. You're right.
Yes.
I love that barn.
It was so loud.
So good.
Oh, it was incredible.
City's
When I
buzzing.
see when they see these videos pop up and us going through the oil rig there and the music start playing and just crowds humming, it's special to watch.
Unreal.
You get that sensation back and that feeling like coming out of that tunnel again.
Oh, well, one more time.
Buzz in the building.
Just one more time. I would love to see it. So you're saying that Edmonton's not going to retire your jersey after you wrote
I don't
your
think that
book?
was going to happen anyways.
Yeah. And by the way, they do the best retirement ceremonies, right? Like, remember when Fierzy came out and Mark Messier and
Paul Coffey went for his lap.
Got a pass from Charlie Huddy, and I was like blown, because that brought me back to my childhood, right? I mean, I knew you grew up in Ontario, God help you. But anyway, I got to ask you a last question.
Last one.
There was a. I like that I'm kind of in charge.
And another
right
one.
now.
And another one.
Like, this is the first time I've ever been in charge in a conversation with you, so I kind of enjoy this moment. But Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, they took that picture the other day. Do you think this is it for Ovi? I mean, it's kind of a telling picture, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think with guys, do they want to go out on their own terms? Do they want to be pushed out? Do they want to, what else is left for him to accomplish? I think, and you kind of see his kids around now, and they're kind of getting to that age. It's. I think when you start seeing the signatures and the pictures and the stuff, it's, I think it might be it. There was a lot of pomp and circumstance going on there. That somebody knows something.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Okay, I do have one last one. And this is an important one, because I think it affects us all. And you are literally one of the best players to ever play our game. And I want to know how it affected you, because hockey, in a lot of ways, it ended bad for Mike Modano at 1,499 games. It certainly ended bad for me with Wayne Gretzky ending my career, sending me down to the minors, right? You work so hard to get there, and then you do, whether you're the best player to ever play, it ends bad. But also your identity as a person, right? Now you're going back into society, and now you're just a civilian. You're not Chris Pronger, the hockey player, right? You're Chris Pronger, the person. And for me, I had a real hard time. Even though I jumped right into hockey and broadcasting on radio, I was lost for literally an entire year, because I was like, who the hell am I? And do I even like this person? Because no one's talking to me about hockey anymore, right? You're always just like, hey, how about that hit last night? How'd you get that black eye? Like, you're missing a tooth today. Like, so how was it for you, Prongs?
Yeah, it was a struggle. You feel like you're prepared. You think you're prepared. And it just, nothing replicates that feeling and sensation that we're talking about coming out of the tunnel, the roar of the crowd, all the rest of it. The ability to compete at a high level, and with these teammates and friends that are willing to do anything for one another, that is incredibly hard to replicate. And so, for me, it was a struggle. There's no doubt. It And I thought I was prepared. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And, I get hurt. I spent 1.5 to 2 years fixing myself, fixing my eye and trying to fix my head. And
I'm just glad you fixed your teeth.
and then I got some fresh jibs. And
look at those things, right?
You get them knocked out, you get them done for free.
Yeah, that is unreal. That's
I should say free.
Right,
you don't have to pay for them. How about that?
Yeah, Crocodile
Somebody's paying for them,
yeah.
not me. But yeah, Doc B, exactly. Yeah, so it took a while. You think you want to go down this path. Started to go down the management path, and you worked at the league, worked for a team, and kind of walked away. And kind of at an important moment right before COVID, I kind of stepped back, and it was a bit of a struggle. Trying to figure out what's next, what's your purpose, what kind of structure do you have, and it took a couple years. I needed to find myself, and as I mentioned, it's quit drinking and really found some clarity in the speaking platform, and then that's kind of led to broadcasting, and then that's led to the book, and so kind of full circle.
Just checking to make sure my wife's not listening. Quit drinking part. Oh, buddy, I would just want to say thanks, Prongs, and thank you for taking a risk and doing what you're doing right now, speaking, because I know that can't be easy. Very unexpected. I didn't know you had it in you, buddy, but you're motivating people. You're changing people's lives. And I'm super proud of you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for all you do.
Nashcast or bust. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Right here.
Nashcast. There it is. Oh! Pipesy Malone in the house.
Love it, buddy. Thanks. We'll see you down the road, big fella.
All right. Hey, do I need to...
And the book. Tell us how to get the book.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, the book. Pardon me. The book. Here it is.
Yeah.
The book. Amazon.com is the easiest. Or, go to chrispronger.com/book. You can buy it off Amazon right there, or Books A Million, or wherever you buy your books.
Love it. Love
Barnes
it.
and
There you
Noble.
heard it.
Yeah.
There you go. Now I just need to when's the audio version coming out for me?
It's out. Go get it.
Whoa. Is it your voice?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Wow.
Get it.
God help me. I'll feel like I'll have PTSD. Like I'm on the back of that bus. Remember when you yelled at me after I had a shit game?
Yes. Hey, get your shit together, Nasher.
I know.
This is the National Hockey League.
And you know what? You were right. You were absolutely right. I was shit. So yeah, that's what a captain does.
Like I said, we don't play 82 perfect games. I've been shit plenty of times. Hey, I won the green jacket like 10 times.
Oh, you're the best, buddy. All right. Now I'll let you go. See you, big boy.
See ya. Peace out.
Well, there you have it. Chris Pronger, thank you, my man. My captain, thank you so much. First of all, for being a great friend, but coming on the show, not once, I think this is the third time that Prongs has been on the show, helping us out, telling his amazing story. Now his book that he's written, and he's all over the place. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's now an author. Top 100 to ever play in the National Hockey League. That's huge. Part of the Hall of Fame, talks all about that. Boy, did we ever have some fun. I'll never forget Pops. There was a place called Pops in East St. Louis. If you've ever been, it is as real as it gets. I don't know if you've seen Chevy Chase and Vacation, where they end up in East St. Louis. They're in the station wagon with the wood paneling. They lose their tires. They lose their hubcaps on their vehicle. It's a real thing. That was East St. Louis. And we used to go there, me, Chris Pronger, and Jamie McLennan. And we would play in the air band. We'd get up on the stage, and I'm with Chris Pronger. It's hard to miss, 6'6", and he'd be playing air guitar. Noodles would be singing. I'd be faking the drums, and we would be having a hoot. And then we'd walk out of the building at like 6 or 7 in the morning, and the sun is coming out, and you're just like, oh my God, my eyes. This is going to be the worst day ever as the sun's coming up and we're heading home. So we had a ton of fun. Can't do that anymore with social media and all the cameras that are out right now. We would have got absolutely destroyed, not only for my horrible singing and karaokeing, but just for being out that late, obviously being figureheads in the community. But Prongs, thank you so much. The stories were unbelievable. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, follow along all our socials, Nashcast Official on Instagram, YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple, everywhere you get your podcasts. And we have more great videos of what it's like from the regular season to the playoffs. I know Foltz isn't here today. My back's sore doing all the heavy lifting myself. So I apologize for that. But we got more great guests to come. And I hope you guys enjoyed Chris Pronger. It was a beauty.